What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, giving you another week of what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheehan, joined by my trusty co-host, Dave Martin Swagger. Dave, as a known Rodrigo, how are you feeling today?
Feeling good. We continue to promote the Rodrigo's fandom agenda, Livy's whack name. But yeah, she still had a really strong Grammy night. Hard to complain. She didn't have the Billie Eilish 5 for 5 sweep, but that's okay. And in general, I have more positive thoughts than expected about the 2022 Grammys, which is always a nice feeling because it's a rare feeling.
And we're going to be talking about the Grammys, an album today that came out unexpectedly, but surprisingly in a good way for me. I was excited to listen to it. A couple TV shows, a couple movies, and then we're going to make some 2023 Oscar predictions, bro. I mean, it's time. We just got over them, so we have to already start talking about it. Start the cycle all over. So hit that subscribe on youtube.com/nostalgiapod and go to Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating on there. Dave, you mentioned that the Rodriguez had a lot to walk away with last night. But I mean, really, the whole reason we all came was to see our guy Jon Batiste take home album of the year for We Are. The Grammys, they nailed it, man. They got it. Best album of the year, Jon Batiste.
Well, he was the most nominated gal group on the night. So he was expected to win some things. He did win stuff before the broadcast started.
He won 5.
And in terms of winning album of the year, he becomes the first black man to win the category. First black artist to win the category in 14 years since 2008. Obviously, of course, Beyonce never has won during that stretch of time, Kanye, etc. So that's something.
Yeah.
But, I kind of feel bad for Jon Batiste in a certain sense, just because he's going to get a lot of flack because he's just significantly less famous and less well liked to the general public than all the people he beat for this award.
Yeah, nothing against him. It's just I think when you have such a mix of albums for album of the year, obviously there's going to be some that are just more popular, like you mentioned, and then people are going to be pulling for, want to see win. I actually can't say if We Are is the best album of the year last year because I didn't listen to it. So it might be. I know he's a great artist. Loved his work on Soul. So shout out to him. But yeah, I can't say for We Are, but I do think, like you said earlier, the Grammys did a pretty good job last night. An award show that we constantly dunk on and just effuse how unimportant they are. I actually had a really great time with the TV aspect of it because I feel like they had probably five to seven big artists there that you just had to have play, and they had to have a moment, and they pretty much lined 5 of those up right away just to like knock it out of the park. And in that first hour, just pure electricity. They've moved it along, some great wins. Got to see pretty much all the big artists you want to see. Was really impressed with that. How did you feel about the first hour just in general?
Yeah, I think the first hour was really, really strong, really tight, and really hard to pick any holes with that, And I think some of this starts just with Trevor Noah. I thought he did a really good job hosting. Yeah. He was funny, but the pace of his banter, his jokes was just quick. He interacted with people out, in the crowd just enough. But I thought he did a really good job. I would love to see him host the Oscars. He seems up for the challenge. So he did well. But like you said, they just packed a lot of good shit in right away. Silk Sonic kicking it off with a performance, actually a replacement performance when the Foo Fighters understandably backed out following the death of Taylor Hawkins. So nice to see Silk Sonic get added in. They probably were not super into. They probably declined an earlier invite. They had to have already been invited before, and then they said yes, last minute after the circumstances. Either way, really cool to see them play 777, given the fact that these Grammys were taking place in Las Vegas. Perfect idea, super easy. Hadn't even thought of that as a possibility. Really cool. And then right off the bat, too, you do Song of the Year. I like the idea of doing a big award right off the bat, similar to how the Oscars often does a supporting award right away. And that's when we realized Olivia Rodrigo was not having the sweep because she lost to Silk Sonic. Leave the Door Open wins song of the year. But then from there, what we got a Balvin performance, we got BTS doing Butter with new choreography, doing like a spy theme thing, very great. Um, and the Billy performance of Happier Than Ever was around this time, right? That was all like the first set of stuff was all really good.
Yeah, I think it was in terms of performances went Bruno, Olivia Rodrigo, Balvin, well, Bruno and Anderson .Paak, Silk Sonic,
Yeah,
Olivia Rodrigo, Balvin, BTS, Lil Nas X, and then Billy Phineas. Actually, it might have been Balvin before Olivia Rodrigo, but somewhat
right.
in that order.
Yeah,
And man, just electric performances all around, like absolutely stunning. You mentioned the Billy performance being awesome, but man, BTS, I think I saw the most reaction to their performance online. 'Cause people who are not totally in the K-pop sphere were just like blown away by
mhm,
how cool and just smooth and fun they are to listen to, and that that whole like aesthetic of like the spy
yeah,
like choreography was just incredible. They bring it every single time. They're
they
just
do.
always good.
And I love like the setup too, and breaking the internet immediately. You see Taeyong sitting next to Olivia, whispering in her ear, showing her a card. It's like, oh my god, you cannot
Yep.
teach that heat. But it was cool to see them do new choreography, not the traditional butter stuff. RM had said on the carpet that they were doing new stuff, unlike last year where they just kind of did a virtual version of Dynamite that they had been doing and stuff. And obviously, the 2020 Grammys, when they were present, they had just been there in support of Lil Nas X Old Town Roads. This is the first time they were in person actually doing one of their own songs. Great. The next step, of course, is them to actually win an award. They didn't win for pop duo slash group performance, although they lost to excellent choice in Kiss Me More, Doja and SZA.
Mhm.
And in the process, you had Doja Cat being herself, really
Yeah.
funny, very crass as you expect from her, but also a great moment. Of course, talking
Yeah.
about how she had to rush her piss out to make the stage in time.
Yeah, Doja is just so electric on the mic. Amazing. And also you get SZA up there, just like on crutches, looking incredible. Just an awesome moment for them. You know, Olivia did get some shine. I thought her performance was great right off the bat. And Driver's License with the live guitars and like actual like rock music in the second half
Hmm.
adds so much more to that song. I'm so glad that they added that element to it. In the same way that Happier Than Ever just sounds so much better when you have that live element
Yeah,
as well, and the
that
visuals were
rocked for sure.
crazy.
And Billy, of course, wearing the Taylor Hawkins t-shirt
Yeah,
in tribute. Hats off there. Yeah,
I saw I saw
good.
somebody tweet. Does Billie Eilish have the highest like likability score out of
Hmm.
like a young celebrity right now? I'm like, she might honestly. I feel
Yeah,
like
I
she
remember
hasn't
she.
made any missteps.
Yeah, I think wasn't there a clip of her saying like a racial slur when she was younger?
Mm,
She seems to have she seemed to navigate that uh,
yeah,
as best you can anyway. Um, yeah, I'd say so. Especially because like me and you are not the biggest fans of album two, Happier Than Ever. Nonetheless, it's hard not to be impressed with just about everything her and Phineas are getting up to, and like that performance, like you said, I like the addition of the guitars and the drums live, really punching up the performance, and just it looked like she was having a blast up there with her brother. That was really great. Um,
yeah,
I think and it's cool. That's a slight switch up, right? You said driver's license slightly switched up a little bit. BTS switching it up on the performance side of things. Justin Bieber also switched it up, performing Peaches. But I just thought that was a really poor decision to slow down Peaches. He had plenty of other songs off Justice that would have worked with fine, if not greatly. But he had to play Peaches because it's the song that got all the nominations. But it didn't work well.
yeah. I didn't really like that choice either. Just too slow down for my liking. You know, especially because like the second half of the show always has problems. It's just a long award show. It's 3.5 hours. It's how do you make everything fit? And putting him, he was in like I think middle to second half. Just like you kind of needed that shot of adrenaline, especially because you have like John Batiste. Didn't Taylor perform too? I might have checked out at that point. Taylor Swift. Didn't
No,
think
she
she
was
was a
not
song.
there.
No, that's right. I saw a different clip of her performing Evermore, and someone was like, "You really want this to
Yeah.
win like awards tonight? Really?" And I was like, "I agree, mistake."
Taylor Swift wins album of the year last year, up once again, but can't be bothered to show up because she knew she wasn't going to win. That's just how she rolls.
Yeah, honestly, good for her. The Grammys still don't matter that much to me. But you have like Nas, right, who comes
Mhm.
out.
Didn't expect
Inter-
that.
I did not expect it to be not only for him to perform, but him to perform and just bring that much heat. I mean, he always brings it, but with like the huge band behind him, it
Right.
was just so grand and just like operatic in the best way for him. But yeah, I felt like the second half dragged a little bit. Obviously, you get the um, in memoriam, Ben Platt, Cynthia Erivo, a couple other people up there
Leslie
singing.
Odom and
Yep.
Rachel Zegler, the
Oh yes.
Grammys, inviting her from the jump. Just like they also had Zelensky from Ukraine, something the Oscars didn't actually do. I couldn't help but think about how this was running so much better than the last Oscars a few times.
Yeah, well, there also wasn't a huge, like gigantic shift in terms of
Of
attitude
course.
in the place,
Yep.
but we don't need to harbor that. Yeah, I mean, what other win stood out to you? I mean, I guess there's
Mm.
one for me that I was really excited about, which was Jasmine Sullivan won
Yeah.
for
R&B
was
album.
it, yes, best R&B album, which she seemed genuinely shocked and just an awesome moment and great recognition. I was like, they're getting
Right.
some stuff right here.
And she won via tie, one of the other R&B song categories beforehand. Those two wins, her first wins after not winning off like the last 12 nominations over the course of her career. But again, Hotel's winning R&B album, justly earned. It was a great record. Kiss Me More winning, great record. Leave the Door Open. It's not my favorite Silk Sonic song, but you can't argue with it. Baby Keem winning for Family Ties, great moment. I really loved him going up in the speech and having that moment.
Yeah.
Tyler winning best rap album again for
Yes.
Call Me If You Get Lost, the correct choice. Rap melodic, you had Kanye, Baby, and Weekend winning for Hurricane, the correct
Mhm.
choice. I was actually just kind of impressed with, for the most part, they kept making the right call. And then John Baptiste
Yeah.
happens at the end, but for the most part, they did well.
I know. It was like Grammys, of course, are going to Grammy. Um, yeah, no, I honestly was very pleased with the winners last night, the show in general. Gotta say, for all the shit we give the Grammys, we have to give them credit because I really think they nailed this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, any other thoughts on this?
So I
Anything
had a
else?
few notes, just negatives. I would say, notice that I saw this a lot online. Draco the Ruler was not in the in memoriam. Really bad omission, given that he was murdered at a industry event and also had all his issues with the legal system in life, like super influential West Coast rapper, to not even put him in there. Been stupid. If you remember how the in memoriam went, whenever rappers came up or hip hop people came up, they got the loudest cheer. Young Dolph got a huge pop, for example. Did not have Draco there is really
Yeah.
stupid. I would
Also,
also, yeah, go ahead.
Joey Jordison from Slipknot wasn't in there, and he was pretty.
Right.
I saw a lot of people online reacting to that.
Yeah, that's another one for sure. Also, just so from what we understand, best rap album was supposed to be given out on the broadcast. They made the change last minute, went to the rap performance category that Keem won instead. Because Keem was present, Tyler wasn't because Tyler's out on tour right now. Um, kind of odd. I'd also say that the Musica Urbana category should not be given out before the show either. Bad Bunny won that, just like he won that last time. Bad Bunny is one of the biggest artists in the world. You should want him on stage. Like, it just really stupid call. Um, Also, uh, yeah, I just think like there's like some of these changes where it's like, honestly, like, uh, do you cut out a performance to make room for stuff like that? I don't know, because you still gave out best country album. Country's a big genre, not a genre we care about, but it's a big genre. I feel like you should give out these big genre categories, all of them, including they don't give a best rock album either. Like, you should give all those out, I feel like. But generally, the Grammys is like was like an advertisement for pop music more than anything else, and I think these Grammys were very successful in that regard. But in terms of like honoring stuff, obviously I have some of those kind of notes here. Shout out Chris Stapleton though. becomes the first solo act to win Best Country Album 3 times. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, your point about getting the stars on stage, I totally agree. They definitely could have cut out that final performance. I thought that was a weird choice to have, John Baptiste win, and there was another performance
Yeah,
afterwards that I
Brothers
just
Osborne.
I just turned the TV off
So did
immediately.
I.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely think they could have done some things differently, but overall, very pleased. Also, we didn't really talk about it. Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars together just are so fun. Like,
Yeah.
they were joking around with Trevor Noah. I thought that was a great bit where he's talking to Anderson, just kind of ignoring Bruno. And just every time
Second
they got on
speech was so
stage,
funny.
yes, like we're trying real hard to stay humble,
Yeah.
but we call that a sweep. It's like,
In the
yes,
industry, we call that a clean sweep.
talk
Yeah.
your
Also,
shit.
Anderson's wig was great.
Yeah, fantastic. Just great stuff overall. Also,
Mhm.
that he got to, dedicate it to his mom who died earlier in the week.
Yep.
Thought that was really, really nice. So, Grammys, surprising win this
Mhm.
year. So we'll take it.
Yeah. Next year, it's the Adele Grammys. We already know.
Yeah,
We already know how it goes.
yeah. You and I were talking last night about usually the best album category or winner is kind of boring, and then we were like, oh wait, but it's Adele next year, so it doesn't matter. We'll talk about it in 2024. So why don't we move on though? We'll see. Do you think Dreamville's gonna get any nominations at the Grammys this year with their new mixtape, D-Day, a Gangsta Grillz mixtape that just dropped
Hmm.
surprisingly this past Friday? What'd you think?
Well, if we recall, the last Dreamville group album, Revenge of the Dreamers 3 from 2019, was Grammy nominated. And J. Cole is pretty consistently getting nominated as well. He was up for the off season, this yesterday too. So don't rule it out, given how things have been going. But yeah, definitely came out of the blue. You love the last second drop there. For me, the biggest thing that brought some excitement to was that this was another Gangsta Grillz mixtape with DJ Drama, of course, hot off Tyler Creator releasing Call Me If You Get Lost as a Gangsta Grillz inspired album that just won Best Rap Album. So people are going back to Drama and seeing the value in that. But more than anything else, hearing a Dreamville group album in any format is just cool and exciting because Dreamville is a really tight roster of artists that make sense together and have a lot of great chemistry because they've been doing this a long time. So the results bear out when you listen to D-Day.
Yeah, first I just want to shout out the aesthetic of this album, this cover with the missiles coming out, the
Mhm.
obviously like Photoshop, like poorly photoshopped cover is just like such a
Yeah,
throwback feeling.
yeah. That's
Love
what a
that.
Gangsta Grillz cover looks
Yeah, just
like.
absolutely love it. Um, and yeah, man, I actually really loved this mixtape album, whatever you want to call it. I thought not only did it just like there were almost no skips for me on this. I just thought it was like heat after heat. But even the times when it kind of slowed down, like there's an Ari Lennox track somewhere in the
Mhm.
middle that gets a little bit more like melodic, a little more like Ari Lennox style. I still thought it sounded great and just really fun to listen to. Brought a lot of energy all
Mhm.
throughout. So I was really impressed. Did you think this lived up to like the past Dreamville mixtapes?
Yeah, that's a great question because Revenge of the Dreamers 3, a whole big thing was built about how they were all together in these long sessions and just banking it out. They had all these guests as well off the roster there too. This is not quite as many guests, non Dreamville artists present, but I still really liked it, and I didn't think there was a lot of fat here. Obviously, when you listen to the Dreamville album, you're not going to, not every song is going to have J. Cole on it. Not every song is going to have Judd on it. So there's going to be people that the average person's probably less familiar with, like Loot or Cause or something. But I still thought it was really fun, really good, and definitely made me excited for the upcoming Jid album. Definitely made me excited for the upcoming Ari Lennox album. Of course, we just got an Earth Gang album. We had a Cole album last year, so just kind of felt like a bonus to me, like a present, honestly. And there was a bunch of songs I dug.
What were the songs that stood out most to you?
Yeah, so let's see. Right off the bat, Stick. I actually wanted more from that just because Sheck West, Kenny Mason coming in as guests. Kind of wanted more from them, especially from Kenny Mason. But the Jid verse is still good. Uh, Lifestyle, track 3 I really liked. I thought Baz's flow was really awesome.
Yeah.
And then Coming Down with Ari, I thought she was great. Starting 5, I thought the chorus on that was super good. Um,
Starting five was a clear standout, and that was one of those moments where I was like, "Okay, who's on this?" And I was like, "I don't really know these people, but this
right.
sounds awesome."
Yeah, Lou and Kaz specifically have been on Dreamville a long time. They've been making albums, but not as famous as the other people for sure, but still good. There's a reason they're there. Uh, I also quite enjoyed Hair Salon. I thought that was the best example of guests being present. I thought G Perico in particular, like just really spazzed on that one. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. Other side of the coin, Barry from Simpson, I thought Two Chain's spot was not very good. In stark
Uh,
contrast to Jid, who of course was good. But I think my favorite song on this is Big Trouble Freestyle with Kaz, where Kaz is freestyling off Who Shot Ya? Biggie Smalls, of course. We just had a Biggie freestyle recently when Corday went over kicking the door at the LA Leakers before his album came out. But I thought Kaz, like, not only did he spaz over Who Shot Ya, but he had a lot of like awesome lines that I just was really into. Uh, I'm a Spider-Man fan, but man, fuck the web. Like, I'm gonna get that blowjob. Then like Brent, I'm a Fiaz. Like, there was just a lot of like really awesome lines. The Paramore line too. Like, it was really impressed with
yeah,
him on that one.
yeah. The album was kind of wrapping up at that point, so I was like, kind of like just getting into the end of it, and then clearly you hear that drop, and your ears perk up, and
Right.
he really brought it on that. Yeah, I thought that was a clear standout. One of the earlier tracks I was a little disappointed with, especially after I liked a lot of what they did in their last album, was Ghetto Gods Freestyle, the second track with Earth
Mhm.
Gang, and I think that's with J. Cole, right, too? Um,
2 Chainz, I think.
oh no, Two Chains. Yeah, and I just wanted more from them together. I mean, I
Yeah.
thought Two Chains was okay, but just didn't pop the way I wanted it to. I think you named a lot of the ones that stood out. Starting five is probably my favorite. I like Lifestyle a lot. I like Stick just for like the pure like I don't know like raw energy that
Mhm.
that it brought. Great way to start the album off. Um, what did you think of the J Cole songs on here? Any that you particularly liked?
Yeah, I thought in general Cole sounded good. Heaven's
Yeah.
EP, the last track, probably stands out the most just because that actually already been released back in September because that is the same beat as Drake's Pipe Down from Certified Lover Boy. And Cole had put that
Hmm.
out a while back. But yeah, I thought Cole sounded good. He's really settled in, especially on these
Yeah.
label projects as more of a like elder statesman, kind of like Godfather figure to the rest of the people on the record
Yeah.
label. So yeah, I thought he played his part as it goes.
Yeah. Even though it was one of the more like toned down tracks in the middle, something that kind of brought the energy back to earth a little bit. Freedom of Speech, I thought was really good and just like a classic J. Cole beat and flow and really enjoyable to listen to. I also did like Blackberry Sap, which was Ari Lennox's second song on
Yeah.
here. Just like bounced more and one of the more impressive like turns and changes on the album. So really good stuff. We're going to be adding a track or two to our nostalgia best of 2022. Any last thoughts though, Dave? Dreamville.
Shout out Dreamville. I think they're the best roster right now because they're consistent.
I agree. Why don't we move forward though to another person that I guess we've heard from Dreamville more recently than we've heard from Jerrod Carmichael. Uh,
Hmm.
it feels like a long time since I really was like thinking about him, and then I heard a special was dropping. I was like, this is gonna be great. I can't wait to listen to it. Dave, though, Rothaniel, this new special from Dread Carmichael, left me feeling very similar to how I felt about Aziz Ansari's last special, which
Ah,
was
nightclub comedian.
yes, which was I think the storytelling ability and the ability to just like hold the attention of a crowd or someone like watching this special is very evident. He seems like a very like confident performer and just like able to like sit up there with silence a lot of the time, which is very impressive to me. But I didn't laugh as much as I was kind of hoping to, and I think
Hmm.
that's because this special wasn't intended to be one that
No.
really, brought a lot of jokes. There were some really funny moments, But
Yeah.
I think this was more of a Jerrod Carmichael kind of like having a therapy session on stage, so to speak. So
Yep.
definitely an interesting special. What was your reaction to Rothaniel?
Yeah. Rothaniel's the third Jerrod Carmichael special, first since 8 came out in 2017. So it's been a minute. 8, like Rothaniel, directed, edited by Bo Burnham, who has made his bones recently on the side as a secretly really good writer and director, or editor and director for this kind of thing. Also, both those specials released on HBO, which is just notable because it means they didn't come out on Netflix, which is where basically everyone else has been working in the stand up comedy sphere. But I hadn't really been thinking about Jerrod Carmichael like stand up right now, just because, like, it's been a while, 2017. But also, like, he had gone on to other things. Like, he had directed his first feature film, On the Count of Three, which premiered at Sundance in 2021. We're still waiting for that to come out. And he's going to be in the Yorgos Lanthimos movie, Poor Things, coming out later this year. Jerrod Carmichael kind of branching out. And that's often when I get excited about comics, when they're more than just a comic. And then to see him release a special like Rothaniel, and when you realize that it's like I think it's one of the most like brilliant visions I've ever heard from a special. And yeah, it's not the most laugh out loud thing. No shit, uh but it's just so consistent and focused, and he spends so much time and puts in so much work to build up to all these incredibly poignant moments about himself, that I'm just really impressed with the vision. Because like you said, he the way he goes about his story, it's like it almost seems like it's not like super scripted at all. But Aziz, a nightclub comedian, I think he'll kind of meander a little bit and go off on more tangents. Jerrod always is really bringing it back super well to this one key theme before you even realize it's going that route. You know, so I was really impressed with it.
I think the obvious like sign of how well he just was able to connect and hold your attention and tell you a story and bring you along for the story, not really having you kind of like losing your attention or losing your focus off it, is that at the end, the whole way he starts the show about how he hasn't been honest about what his name actually is, he doesn't tell you the the name from the first bit of the first 5 minutes of the show until the very end, and you just
Mhm.
kind of forget about it because you're just along for this ride, and you're on this like you're in this encapsulating story the whole time. um I definitely feel like this is obviously, I don't know if a step forward is the right way to put it, but I think it's um a sign of growth for him just as a performer, someone that seems very confident. Obviously, talking about his sexuality, how this has impacted his relationships, how it's impacted his life, how it's impacted his view of himself. Um, Kind of bearing his soul on stage is really fascinating to watch and done really well. But beyond that, just his ability to command the stage and not he it didn't seem at all like he was putting on a bit, even though he obviously was at points. Some of it was a little bit more finely tuned in terms of the bit, like when he was talking about hooking up with his boyfriend, and at times they'd be like, you have to stop making out and say no homo like in the middle of
Right.
it and stuff like that. Really really funny. um but yeah, a lot of it just felt like he was just talking to you, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I was impressed by it. At the same time, I was like, this is the second comedy special that we're going to be talking about where people are going to come away and just be like, I only laughed like 3 or 4 times. Like, what is this?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like, you know what? You can find other ones that'll make you laugh more. Like, it's not a big deal, you know?
Mhm.
But I think like the whole theme of Rothaniel, beyond Jerrod's very specific um, personal experiences, but like just the overall theme about authenticity and secrets, and the way he goes about it in such a conversational manner. Uh, I just found like it really sticks with you. And there's that storytelling style where you're sprinkling in the comedy, and you're getting huge laughs when you do. It's not like they're these amazing jokes or anything, but just because he has everyone's attention, like at the tip of his finger. And then when he sprinkles in a joke, that plays off really well off something really poignant personally he had just been talking about. Like it still hits really well. I just really appreciate that focus that he's bringing to this routine here. And again, it's not like Chris Rock, who's right now touring and probably going to do a special for Netflix soon after everything that happened with Will Smith, right? It's not a routine. This is obviously Jerrod finally coming to grips with something about himself, and I think that's just really uh, cool to see shared with everyone.
Yeah.
Um, this was made recently. He shot this back in February at the Blue Note Jazz Club in New York City, and I really loved Bo's camera work once you're actually in the club. Like the way he kind of like does these close ups, but they're kind of like from the bottom up, looking up at Jerrod. That looks really cool. But also, like, I think this is a really subversive special just because Jerrod is openly welcoming the audience participating and asking him questions and digging deeper in things he's saying as Jerrod is in real time really grappling with the stuff he is publicly discussing. Whether those people in the audience are genuine or they're plants from Bo Burnham, who can say, regardless, it's effective, it works, it doesn't matter what the answer to that question is. So I think just like the fact that there's like so much intentionality and such a great message in this special is why I love it, and even if, yeah, it's not the funniest thing I ever saw, but like that's okay because it's kind of like besides the point to me.
Yeah. I think it's important to acknowledge that this is a black man talking in a
Yeah.
room that is, it seems to be largely other black people, talking about homosexuality, being gay. And I think it's really powerful that
Yeah.
he did this, because in that community, there's still, I mean, worldwide, there's still a lot of stigma against gay people, but especially within the black
Right.
community, there's a lot of stigma. It's very brave
Yeah.
of him.
I mean, he has the line. He says, a lot of dudes just turned off the TV and
Yep.
substitute for dude, and it's like I saw a lot of other gay black people online saying like, yeah, that line really hits for me. That really digs up, things what happened with me. Like it's very perceptive. It's very specific. It's like a very specific experience to Jerrod that a lot of other people can find a lot of
Yeah.
solace into. So yeah, I was really impressed with it. On one hand, it's like the surprise is a big contributor to it, but I also had seen the headline about Gerard's sexuality before I watched it, and I was still really impressed, even though I knew it was coming.
Yeah. I do have to say, the audience plants took me out of it. I think they were clearly plants, because those questions were so pointed and so like perfect. It almost felt like if this wasn't a plant, that's incredible. But it took me out of it a little bit, just because I was like, huh, like if he was like crafting it like where he was trying to get to these specific points, maybe I would give it a little bit more credit. But overall, I don't think that took away from the effectiveness of what he was trying to do here. And I also think like the visual of him like walking into this club, this small club, taking his jacket off, sitting on stage, awesome shirt, like beautiful for the show, ends it, walks back out into like a snowy, cold world again, which just like such a like poignant like metaphor for everything that he's talking about, and like it just being him walking outside alone in New York City, which would never actually happen, but just like very like there's a lot of thought put into this and shit. I think shout out to Bo, shout out to Gerard for like their vision on this. Definitely
Yep.
surprising, but in a good way for sure. Um, why don't we move forward to something else that I'm sure you love just as much as this, Dave, which is Moon Knight, the new Marvel TV series on Disney Plus, starring Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke also in there. So
Yeah.
you got two big stars right at the top, right at the top billing. Hmm. One episode in, Dave. Moon Knight. How did it fare for you?
Yeah. The fifth Marvel Cinematic Universe Disney Plus series. A lot of baggage coming in for the average MCU fan, I'm sure. However, Moon Knight, refreshingly, through one episode, completely detached from the greater MCU. And if we reflect on the past MCU series at this point, the best ones, WandaVision and Loki, were also the ones that were the most contained, the ones that were most indebted to continuity and connecting to other movies and setting up future stuff were the ones that suffered the most. Hawkeye and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So Moon
True.
Knight seems to at least have its own identity, be doing its own thing. And through one episode, got a lot of shit going on. You
Yeah,
know,
a lot of
kind
shit
of
going on.
weird, kind of funky, kind of perhaps a unique point of view in the MCU. Of course, it's too early to say that, but the fact that it's perhaps possible is appealing to me. So the fact that it's just kind of weird, and Oscar Isaac's given multiple performances playing, the alter ego of Moon Knight was a character with dissociative identity disorder. Like, the fact that it's got all that kind of shit going on, it's like, okay, you know what? For an MCU thing, there might be something to this one, but we'll see.
There's definitely bones here. I think I was expecting to like this first episode more, and I don't know why I didn't necessarily. I think there's certain aspects that I really liked, but it was hard for me to shake the like Venom-esque quality of it. Like you have this guy who's kind of like dissociating. You
Yeah,
got the weird voice like talking
right.
to him, being like, "Let me take over you," like whatever, however it goes. I
Eddie.
just, yeah, stop fighting me. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
I can
voiced by
guess.
F. Murray Abraham, which
Yeah,
is the voice of Khonshu, the Egyptian moon god.
yeah. And so there were certain aspects I was like, this is a little strange. Also like he's this weirdo who I guess Eddie Brock actually isn't a weirdo till Venom takes over, right? He's like a
Yes,
cool
he's just a
person.
journalist.
Yeah, and Stephen Grant's just a big weirdo. But I don't that part also is always funny. Like Oscar Isaac, this like super handsome dude who obviously is
Mm.
like super smart, working in this museum. Like, oh yeah, everybody thinks he's a huge loser. No one wants to like hang out with him. But I guess he does get that date in the first
Yeah,
like 10
honestly,
minutes,
so
right?
I thought Oscar Isaac was compelling as like the nerdy weirdo unsocial person. I thought it actually worked, especially when you contrast it to the Mark Spector mercenary alter ego that we see via the mirrors. I was like, okay, yeah, no, that's the Oscar Isaac I think of. That's like the handsome, suave Poe Dameron Oscar
Mhm.
Isaac. So I was like, when you see the two compared, I'm like, okay, you know what? I actually kind of get it here. Yeah, obviously Oscar Isaac's still very handsome, no matter what mannerisms he's got going on. But yeah, I think it's kind of cool that we get to watch the show and we'll get to see Oscar Isaac literally do two performances at once. And you know, if this is going to be the one for them thing that Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke do, recently, at least Isaac seems to be really going for it and having fun, you know?
He
So
definitely
it's
does.
something.
And I think by far the most compelling scene in the whole first episode for me was when he wakes up in what was that, like Ireland or something, that
I
like
think that
little
was the
village,
Alps, the Swiss
the
Alps
Alps,
somewhere. Yeah.
where Arthur Harrow, played by Ethan Hawke, is like has his religious cult and he's holding some, I don't know, whatever that was, pendant or something like that.
Yep. Scarab or
And
something, I think it was. Yeah.
yeah, I thought that whole scene was really electric. A lot of tension, the like going back in and out, great car chase on like, yeah, on the Swiss, I guess it was Swiss Alps in the mountain or whatever. Thought that was all really really fun. Also liked some of the setup, when they're in the museum and you get to see him like at his house, like that shackle around his ankle and the sand around his bed, all that stuff. I think that's definitely like,
Right.
it's intriguing.
Yeah. Well,
So
it skips the origin story. That's what I like
right,
about it too. He's already got the two identities. He's already being Moon Knight in a certain sense.
we're gonna
He's
get that
he
origin story though.
Yeah, we'll see.
You know it.
He already has the sleepwalking problems,
Yeah.
or he thinks are sleepwalking problems, right? So like, I like that we're being thrown in there. But yeah, we'll see if they commit to it. I know the critics actually got 4 of the 6 episodes, which is more than usual for an MCU series, and apparently the plot starts to pick up around then. So we'll see if these early episodes are able to keep the momentum here. And Ethan Hawke joining franchise in this manner, playing a villain. I believe he's the manifestation of a different Egyptian god. That's how it goes. And it'll just be funny to see how the MCU, very calculating Kevin Feige world, how they actually tackle the Moon Knight character when it's all said and done, because Moon Knight's comic origins are very up and down as the character in, inherited more and more elements. Like it wasn't invented as a character with multiple identities, for example, or with roots to an Egyptian god. There's a lot going on, but on its face, Moon Knight has always been like, he's the Marvel Batman, but even more fucked up in the head. So if they are able to present that in some way with the MCU, I'll be interested. I mean, obviously, we can't expect it to get too dark given the history of the MCU. We'll see. One other thing that I find interesting is series was developed by Jeremy Slater, who previously had done work in developing Umbrella Academy for Netflix. Directed some of these episodes. The direction for some of these episodes was done by Mohammed Diab, who is an Egyptian director. And he recently, before the show came out, had talked about, it's very critical of Wonder Woman 1984 and how they like very clichédly and stereotypically portrayed Egypt. And he's like, he's really frustrated with Hollywood's often otherization and exoticization of like Egyptian locales. So it'll be interesting to see how the Egyptians' cultural stuff is actually treated throughout this series. So, it sounds like it'll be done more tastefully and, as far accurately as it can be, if Diab's comments are any hint there. So I feel like it's a lot of like wait and see stuff with this, but even if it's like not like the most amazing series ever, most amazing Marvel thing either, I'm still just hopeful, given that it seems to have its own identity and just trying to do its own thing in some way, just because we're very critical and Marvel doesn't let things do that, which is often the way it goes. So
There's definitely some intrigue here. We'll be checking in at the end of the series, which is May 4th. So check that out. But why don't we move forward to another plus, Apple TV Plus, where we have Slow Horses. Just premiered this past week. The first 2 episodes. Did you get to both of them?
I did, yes. Slow Horses, 6-episode first season. They've actually already shot a second season, which will be coming out eventually. And this is an adaptation of the first book in Mick Herron's Slough House novel series that kicked off about 10 years ago. And I was not familiar with those books, but has a lot of, I think, components that a lot of fans of dramatic television probably like, namely spy thrillers. But I think the central conceit of this being set around the fictional Slough House, the deadbeats of MI5, where they send off the shitty agents and hope they quit. Like, I feel like that's such a hilarious presence for a spy thriller that I was like super into it. And of course, it's populated with a bunch of great actors.
Yeah, I mean, not only do you get this great premise, like you mentioned, but then you have Gary Oldman as like the head of this department.
Yeah,
Jack Loudon, up and coming possible Bond in the future, playing River Cartwright, who seems to be like the main character that we're following. Got Olivia Cook, Sid, she's just electric in this. And then he goes to visit his grandpa and like has dinner. Oh yeah, it's just Jonathan Pryce. He's just having like a side conversation about lemons with Jonathan Pryce, just like for 5 minutes. I was like, this shit's crazy, man.
Yeah. Also, the MI5 like director type is Kristen Scott Thomas, NBD.
Yes. Just too many good actors in this show, and also maybe the best like opening, like cold open scene in a TV show that I've seen since like The Bodyguard. I don't know, man.
Yes, that's a great call. Yeah, another British spy series. Yep, very Bodyguard-esque.
But that opening scene where I guess it turns out to be a drill, but they're trying to identify this Asian suspect with a blue shirt and a white overshirt, but they get that mixed up, and debatable on how that gets mixed up.
Yeah.
And then him having to like fix his issue while running through the airport. Amazing opening scene, just thrilling and really sucks you in. And then you're immediately with Gary Oldman and this like ragtag group, which is just like such a fun concept. There's a lot to like here. I guess I don't really have a lot to say about it other than that. No. I'm like totally in for this series, and Apple TV Plus just continues to churn out good shit, dude.
I know. Yeah, Apple's definitely ramping stuff up. It's interesting, I think, to look at this series, British actors, British setting, but not a British co-production, just straight up an Apple TV Plus production. HBO is the one that usually does like BBC co-productions or Channel 4 co-productions. So just something to note about the industry side of things, with the way this is conceived. And apparently, the way the final episode is going to end is with straight up a trailer from season 2, which is kind of unique. I wonder how quickly that'll come out, given they've already made it. But just the fact that you're getting Gary Oldman doing a completely different side of the spy genre after he played George Smiley and Tinker Tailor 10 years ago,
Mhm.
that's just really exciting. Obviously, goes without saying how great Gary Oldman is. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think just spy thrillers. It's just a really dependable genre, and only 6 episodes. We've already seen 2. I'm really excited to see more of the plot. Um, yeah, and I think Olivia Cook is continuing to churn out good work, good roles. Really excited to see her get like the true star turn on House of the Dragon later this year.
Yeah. I do have to say, at the end of episode 2, great cliffhanger.
Yep.
Also, one of the things I thought they did really well, that I mean, not only setting up obviously River and Spider as like these rivals,
Right.
and that whole dynamic I really like too. But in a lot of spy thrillers, when they have a scene where they're like trailing someone or stalking them, it just seems like, how does that person not realize that person is like following them for so long? The way that they did it in this in the second episode, I thought made like a lot of sense. There's like scenes where he's like on top of like an area and the guy goes
Yep.
underneath and you find like around, and I was like, oh, that actually seems a little bit more like realistic, and
More
it just,
cautious.
yeah, it just feels like more like thoughtful and more thought out as a
Hmm.
show. So I'm really
Grounded.
interested, yeah, to see where it goes. And obviously, with this cast, you have to be in. So check out Slow Horses on Apple TV Plus. Dave, Let's stay on streaming. Let's move over to The Bubble on Netflix. Man, Judd Apatow. Last time we heard from him was The King of Staten Island,
Yeah.
which we both liked
2020.
quite a bit. I think it had some of the usual Apatow ness, maybe a little too long. Actually, SNL just made fun of that point this past week, which I thought was pretty funny. Pete Davidson was in on the joke, which I thought was great. Um, but overall, were really impressed with the storytelling, the mix of humor and seriousness in it. Just a
Right.
lot of great themes, and Apatow seemed to have his fastball back, and now The Bubble comes out on Netflix. Did he maintain that fastball for you, Dave?
That's a hard no on this one, man. Very perplexing to see that this is a movie made by Judd Apatow, given his credits. Even his like misses aren't like this, and it just comes across as in a very like dated and not thought through movie presence, and ultimately probably conceived as a bit of a timely cash grab. It's a bit disappointing, and it wastes blockbuster cast in the process.
You talk about blockbuster cast. I mean, who's who of up and coming people in this? Headlined by Karen Gillan, but obviously Pedro Pascal, his daughter Iris Apatow. I mean Leslie Mann, his wife. So those are
Yeah,
kind of there. But like you get some old timers: Fred Armisen, Dave Duchovny. Um, but just a lot of people. Rob Delaney's in this. You kind of go down the list. John
Keegan Michael Key,
Lithgow. Yeah, I think you even get like a Benedict Cumberbatch like face in there.
yeah,
You get
mocap
John
of some kind.
Cena, Daisy
James
Ridley.
McAvoy.
I mean, like, so many people are in this, and oof, I found this to be incredibly unfunny. I
Yeah.
think there's maybe like 2 or 3 scenes that I really thought were like really great. And yeah, I think you said it well. This felt like it should have been made in like the late 2000s as like a parody movie to something else,
Ah,
and it's almost just like a parody of
yes.
itself, which is, I don't know if that
Like a
is
Meet the
that the joke.
Spartans type thing or something. Yeah.
Exactly, something like that. I don't know. Just really didn't work. Also, I don't know if Kate McKinnon's made like a good thing outside of SNL in her career.
No, at least not in a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe what was the one with Mila Kunis in her? People like
Yeah,
that.
spy something. I forget.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, honestly, what the most frustrating aspect of this cast and like the wasting big cast for me is you have Maria Bakalova in this breakout star of Borat 2, and she has a complete nothing part and does absolutely nothing in the movie. So
Yeah.
stupid.
Although I do have to say, her whole thing with Dieter and how like she controlled him, I did
Yeah,
find her like mesmerizing, and I
she is
think
funny.
she still has something there. But, whew, I mean, I'm just trying to think like probably the moment I liked the most was when Pedro Pascal, Dieter, like is having the reaction to taking too many drugs, and they just
Hmm.
don't know how to like take care of him, so they keep like
Yeah,
doing all this stuff. They put him in ice.
hitting
They
him.
like, yeah, hit him in the chest, and then finally Maria Bakalova's Annika runs over and like gives him the whatever.
Adrenaline or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
whatever that is.
Narcan, whatever.
Narcan, yes, thank you. And that I thought was pretty funny, just like how they didn't know how to do anything. But
Yeah.
man, I just I really can't even think of other moments I liked in this.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few like one-off moments where like I chuckled a few times. Like I thought early on where doing the COVID test for Karen Gillan, I think it was, and the guy starts counting down from 100, and then after a few seconds, he's like, "No, no, no, just kidding." Like I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty good. The guy explaining like the VR like sex glove prosthetic
Oh
thing,
yes,
thought that was pretty good.
that was ridiculous.
Um, Also, Daisy Ridley being like a horny AI that is Pascal, right? Pascal like acid trips into having like intercourse with. I was like, wow, that was like
Yeah,
pretty funny to see Daisy Ridley in a random cameo like that, I guess.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, there's like a bunch of like just dated aspects to it. Like just like the whole thing of, so this movie was conceived and like green lit in like fall 2020. They made it in from February to April 2021. The thing though is like a lot of like the COVID like humor in this movie, making a movie during COVID, a lot of the humor is like just so dated to our understanding of COVID. It's like all like spring 2020 stuff. We didn't know anything. Like there's a joke about like how the person got COVID who got everyone's coffee, and because she gave everyone coffee, we have to go into quarantine. Like we've known for so long that you don't get COVID passed to you by physical objects. Like
mhm.
that's just like, and they made this movie in the spring of last year. Like why didn't they rewrite this? It's just stuff like that just kind of frustrated me because it's like this might have been more funny to someone if they happened to watch it back in the early pandemic, but then it wouldn't have been funny because it's such a tragic time. It's just like some of it's just really off in that regard.
Yeah, I completely agree. I honestly just didn't think the writing in this was really funny at all. I guess like I'm trying to think like what moments actually stand out in my mind. I guess the stuff with Duchovny and Leslie Mann kind of
Yeah.
does. I didn't really find that very funny, but I did find the part where Leslie Mann's hand gets shot off pretty funny, just because it was so shocking and just like,
Yeah.
oh, did not expect them to go there. Um, the stuff with Iris Apatow, I thought like the like TikTok star aspect of it was like
Yeah.
not really well done at all and just kind of
No,
lame.
it's like, oh, she's a D'Amelio. Okay, again, it's very
Yeah.
2020 understanding of TikTok too. Like,
Hmm.
it's like, oh, she's a
Yeah.
really like vapid young Gen Z person who only knows social media clout. Okay, like that's your observation, but you didn't do anything on it for 2 hours. Like, there's no development. It's like,
Yeah, and what they were trying to say about like cancel culture when they were trying to like cancel her or whatever, that
yeah,
other influencer. I just was like, this is such like a rich person perspective on like cancel culture. I just thought it
right.
was kind of stupid.
Also,
All the
like,
stuff with Keegan Michael Key, like stupid and
yep,
ridiculous.
yep. You have the jokes about, oh, you can recast me, and the guy lists off all the Batmans and then calls Robert Pattinson the Twilight guy. It's like, obviously that's a
Mhm.
very dated, stupid joke to film Twitter people, but also like by the time we watch this movie, we've seen Robert Pattinson be Batman, and he's fucking awesome. You know.
Yeah.
Also,
um,
there's a line about so and so previously working for DaBaby, calling him a nice guy. Another very dated thing. When they made this movie, DaBaby was still kind of he was probably like thought of more kindly back then, so maybe we can forgive that one.
Maybe.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, and also they dropped an Iggy Azalea song in this, a new Iggy Azalea song. At that, I was like, wow, that's a choice. That is a choice for sure.
Yeah. Overall, just wasn't my favorite movie to watch. Not would not recommend. Um,
Cliff B
yeah.
7, you're not into it?
Even that like concept just annoyed me.
Yeah.
So
Honestly, do you think this movie would have been better if we never saw them actually on set once, and it was just
hmm,
all about the stuff of them in the hotel and losing their minds and stuff? Maybe that would have worked better because like all this stuff of watching them make this really stupid CGI blockbuster. It's like it was just like almost like in the way or like padding or something, you know?
I just don't think Judd Apatow is the right person to make this movie. I think you need someone who had like slight like horror chops to it too. Like Jordan
Hmm.
Peele feels like if he had made this movie, this would have been so much more like thoughtful and like maybe it would have
Right.
been
Well,
a good mix of funny and scary. But
can say that
obviously,
about most movies in Jordan Peele, to be honest.
good point. Yeah, good point. I'm trying to think of if I can think of anybody else. Ari Aster, maybe. I
There
feel
we
like
go.
this would have been a better like horror movie almost, but I don't know. Just I don't even want to think about this movie anymore. Let's move on
Mm.
to a movie that I'm sad I haven't been able to see, but I'm glad that you did because I hear great things about it. Everything, everywhere, all at once, all the time.
Uh,
Everywhere,
no, just everything everywhere all at once. You got it.
all at once, all the time. Yeah, tell me about it. I'm hearing great things.
So, Everything Everywhere All at Once is the best movie I've seen thus far this year. And I really see no scenario where this movie isn't in my top 10 at the end of the
Wow,
year.
that's
Fan-
huge.
Fantastic film for so many reasons. And, along those lines, let's just start here. This movie was in 38 theaters last weekend, grossed $1 million. It'll be wide everywhere this coming weekend, so everyone get a chance to see it. Right now, with like 18,000 entries, it is the highest rated film on Letterboxd,
Yeah.
4.6. That'll probably go down, but the fact that it's even there at this stage is really impressive and says a lot. Uh, and obviously people use Letterbox, probably more of the film twittery type people. However, you watch this movie and it is still going to be super populous and super popular with the common man as well. There's nothing to worry about there. So really really excited for this movie to go wide. I really hope it does well because it's a completely original creation from Daniel Kwan and Daniel Schneider, who are like a directing duo known as the Daniels. The last feature film they made was 2016's Swiss Army Man from A24, starring Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe, if you remember that. This is another A24 joint. And the reason I love it so much, the reason why seemingly everyone I've seen who's seen it loves it so much, is just because this is like one of the most impressive like original visions and commitments I've ever seen. And from the Daniels, like they deserve so much credit for how they made this movie work. And just our basic premise here, you have Michelle Yeoh as Evelyn Wong, our main character, and she works at a laundromat with her husband Waymond, played by Ki Hee Kwan, aka Short Round from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Yes, Ki Hee Kwan came back to acting after taking a hiatus from 2002 to uh, last year. So that's really cool. And he is
Yeah.
amazing in this movie. But yes, they are a couple running a laundromat and they're being audited by the IRS. And their IRS agent is played by Jamie Lee Curtis. And before you know it, Evelyn is approached by Waymond, her husband, but it's a different version of Waymond. Different mannerisms, takes his glasses off, different energy to him. And she realizes and is increasingly told via exposition from this other Waymond that he is from a different universe. He is a different Waymond. And her help, Evelyn's help, is needed to stop this evil force that is a threat to all these universes. And as you go through this movie, you learn how this world works. And it's like it is one of the most impressive, if not the most impressive, like presentation of a multiverse in a movie that I've ever seen. And
Mm.
not only is it like all like the sci-fi stuff, oh, other universes and stuff, right? But it also brings all that together with very intentional uh messaging about tenderness and what your alternate paths in other multiverses could mean for like your future. And like I think the central themes of like uh, Evelyn and Wayman's relationship is never like sacrificed for the sake of like multiversal action spectacle. So because everything everywhere all at once is so like multifaceted in that regard, I think it's like really impressive the way like everything comes together at the end. Um, but like the general premise is that like Evelyn will start going into other multiverses and finding other versions of herself where she has like these other skills. Like there's a version where she became like an opera singer, and thus she will take her that increased lung capacity back into herself in this other universe to get out of a sticky situation to stay alive and stuff like that. And she keeps like learning all these skills from other versions of herself. But in the meantime, she's also picking up other memories of what could have been if other things had happened. So like, the whole like alternate paths thing that is going as you're watching this action spectacle is like super mind blowing. It's like a
I love
sensory
that.
overload, but in like the best way possible. And of course, Michelle Yeoh and Kiki Kwan, the martial arts in the movie is awesome. The action is great because we're seeing many versions of all these characters. The costume design is awesome. There's just so many different intricate costumes. Also, amazing theater movie because there's tons of awesome humor moments, ridiculous moments designed in the movie for laughs, and they just tear the roof off when you watch them with a crowd. So it's not like you can spoil a whole lot about it, but I'll just say like it's. I think it's just a movie that deserves to be seen, and I really hope it's really successful because this would really show what can be achieved with original ideas when people really have a vision and are given the rope to execute on it. Like it's really impressive. And I thought Stephanie Sue plays their daughter Joy. She's really great. Evelyn's older father, played by James Hong, is really good. Also, Jamie Lee Curtis, really great because you get to see her do different versions from different universes as well too, and she's like super committed as well. So it's like kind of like curmudgeony IRS agent. Also, there's a scene in the film from one of the alternate paths where it's like a very direct reference to "In the Mood for Love," the Wong Kar Wai classic starring Tony Leung. I actually didn't catch that when I saw it, then I looked it up, and it's like clear as day when you like compare the two scenes. Really cool to see that. So yeah, I would say this is a movie that like cannot be skipped.
All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to go see it this weekend. Can't wait actually, because I've heard great things. Pretty much everything I've heard, similar to what you said, Dave, is just like this is a singular movie going experience, something that people really can't compare. So I can't wait to see it. And drop your thoughts below if you're watching on YouTube. Let us know what you thought of everything, everywhere, all at once. And Dave, I think this is actually a good segue into our
Mm.
Oscars 2023 predictions because it sounds like you feel like there's a chance everything everywhere all at once might get some Oscar love next year.
Would love to see it. A24 should at minimum push this for original screenplay because it is an original ass screenplay that works and really deserves the plaudits. So, obviously release in the spring, hard to contend this early for the next award cycle, but I really hope so because I really hope people watch the movie because the plaudits are well deserved for sure. But
Well,
we got a lot of other stuff coming out for
we do.
2023 Oscars, a lot of big names as expected.
And it's actually funny because I think that there's another movie that I don't think it will get quite the buzz that one of its predecessors did, but I think the Batman has a chance to get some nominations at the,
Right.
probably some of the more technical ones at the award show
Greg
next year. So
Fraser's cinematography, perhaps.
yes, for sure. So we've already had some really solid movies come out this year. Also, we talked about After Yang that
Yep.
I think might be a dark horse, contender for Oscar love next year as well. Turning Red, I think is a shoe in to get nominated for best,
Animated feature.
animated feature. Thank you. So there's already a lot out there to like, but yeah, like you said, there's a ton of really good shit that's going to be coming out. A lot of good movies to look forward to. Where do you want to start with this? What's like the number one movie you're most excited for this year?
Yeah, I think we have to start. I'm excited for a lot of things, but I think we have to start with two movies because of who's directing them. Killers of the Flower Moon from Martin Scorsese on Apple TV Plus, and The Fablemans from Steven Spielberg. because Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg have never competed for Best Director against each other. And it seems very possible that that could happen this year. Of course, another Scorsese film with Leonardo DiCaprio, Steven Spielberg getting very autobiographical about himself in a movie featuring Paul Dano as I believe his father. Paul Dano has a lot of juice right now off the Batman. Very easy to see that transcending into his other work later this year. So I think these two are like really exciting, and it'll be really cool to see Marty versus Spielberg go at it again. Of course, Spielberg just set the record for being Best Director nominated in was it 6 or 5 different decades, 6 different decades,
Yeah,
which is already a
crazy.
huge achievement, of course. And now we're just seeing if Marty will actually get that second Best Director win or not. But really excited for both these films.
Yeah. I'm very excited for Killers of the Flower Moon. I think that would probably be my number one most anticipated.
Yeah,
Although there are two other ones that really stand out to me. You already mentioned earlier in the podcast Jordan Peele with Nope. I think that movie has a lot of like mystery around it, but anytime you get Jordan Peele doing weird stuff, and you also have Daniel Kaluuya, Kiki Palmer, Stephen Yoon, like the cast is there, the creators there. That could
can't
be
wait.
huge.
Yep,
Um, I think that there's a couple other ones, but there's this uh little director by the name of Damien Chazelle
let's fucking
that
go.
has a movie called Babylon coming out. And bro, I mean, you got Brad Pitt and you
Margot.
got Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie like starring in this. That I mean, these four alone feel like shoo-ins to be
Yep.
like going toe to toe at the award show next year.
Whiplash, La La Land, and First Man. Damien Chazelle on one of, if not the best run for an American director right now. Such talent. I cannot wait for this movie. It's coming out right at the end of the year around Christmas time. Will be a huge awards player for sure. Can't wait to see Chazelle back again.
Any, I mean, what other ones do you feel like are even in this? Like,
This
because
tier.
I gotta say, those four are like in a tier all of their own, probably, right?
Right. Yeah, so I think like the way you go about this is like there's like people that you expect to be in the awards mix because they have been before, and then there's people that you're just really excited to see their films because they may do really good work, and whether that means they cross over into the awards race or not is like a separate question. I'd say we really should not discount the fact that Wes Anderson's coming back once again with Asteroid City with another dynamite cast and a dynamite premise. Wes Anderson, we know how singular he is as a director. We just saw The French Dispatch last year, and I can't wait to see another one of his movies.
Yeah, kind of crazy he's coming back so quickly. Really hoping that this is going to be a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more grabbing than the French Dispatch,
Well, it's
obviously.
not going to have vignettes, I don't think so.
Right,
That helps.
a little
It's
bit
it's
more
a
of a singular
romantic
story.
comedy drama, he says, and it's Scarlett Johansson's first live action role for Wes is like the key thing here, and also Tom Hanks, I
Um,
think.
you know, one that just keeps sticking out to me everywhere I was looking when I was thinking about movies for this year, and one that I'm super excited to see is this movie called The Northman from Robert
Yeah,
Eggers.
it comes out in a
Uh,
few weeks.
man, I mean, I don't see why this can't be up there. Not only would I kind of see this being like a nomination for Eggers, like kind of anointing him like Chloe Zhao as like one of the next great filmmakers, but I mean, it looks dynamite. Has a great cast. I mean, Willem Dafoe is like the like Northman king, like kind of
Hmm.
crazy king, and then you got Skarsgård just kind of running around being a fucking Greek
Yep.
god. Like, looks incredible.
Anya Taylor-Joy back again with
Yep.
Eggers after The Witch, which was her breakout performance. Well, I can tell you why it wouldn't be in the awards race. It's just because Robert Eggers is fucking weird, and that's his thing. And it might not be his most palatable, but his last movie was The Lighthouse, which was super weird, but also fucking ruled. So I would love to see The Northman uh, in the mix. Can't wait to see it at the end of this month, and I hope it does big business. Because this is his biggest movie to date, easily. So very excited about The Northman. Along those lines, elevated horror, which is where Eggers has dabbled in the past. Ari Aster's coming back with Disappointment Boulevard.
Mm.
Ari Aster, of course, the director of Hereditary and Midsommar. So, you know, probably the most exciting director working in horror right now will see exactly how horror this movie is. Similarly, Alex Garland has a movie coming out in May called Men, which seems to also be on the horror angle. Eggers, Garland, Astor, huge film Twitter heroes there. We'll see if any of them can break through in the bigger awards race.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are great calls. It's hard to it's hard for me to conceptualize this, and I think it's because I I saw this person most recently in Free Guy, and he was being so ridiculous. But Taika Waititi has a movie coming out this year called Next Goal Wins, and you
We've been
think
talking about this one for so long. He made it pre-pandemic.
I know, and we talked about it last year too, and you would think like, all right, is Taika really gonna recapture the magic of Jojo Rabbit? I don't see why not. He's incredibly likable. He makes very palatable, very thoughtful, and just easy to watch stuff. Even though there were moments in Jojo Rabbit, obviously they're very tough. I don't see why this movie with I think he's starring in this too. Why this couldn't potentially be in the mix? It has Fassbender starring, actually. Sorry.
Yes.
But I think he's acting it. So I really hope that movie's successful. I could definitely see that being up there. Another one that stands out to me as a potential is I Want to Dance with Somebody, this Whitney Houston biopic with I think it's Keke Palmer, right? No, Naomi Ackie. Sorry. Naomi Ackie. I think that has potential to be in the Aretha lane, where it's if it's a little bit better, maybe a little bit more cohesive and compelling of a story, maybe we can get that a nomination as well.
Right. Andra Day, of course, was nominated for U.S. vs. Billie Holiday just 2 Oscars ago. Very possible for musical biopic to do well, of course.
And then you have to always, of course, if we're in the musical biopic, the Elvis movie. Yep. Are we getting that this year? I mean, is that going to be?
Yeah, no, that's dated for I think it's June or July this year. We've already got the trailer, and Baz Luhrmann, of course, has been at the Oscars before. Looking no further than Shakespeare in Love, Best Picture winner, after all. But honestly, I think that trailer looks really good. Austin Butler as Elvis, Tom Hanks as I forget his name, the manager figure. Really excited to see this one. Hopefully it's the good of Baz Luhrmann, a guy who obviously is very excessive in how he makes his movies. Are there any of the other major biopics? I know Maestro, the Bradley Cooper directorial film, his first movies directing since A Star is Born. He's only just getting to make that now, so I'm not sure if that's going to hit this award season. That's a Bernstein biopic.
The one that comes to mind is Nolan's Oppenheimer biopic.
Yeah, we know that's dated for 2023, so
yeah,
that one's not this award season. Very excited for that, of course.
Yeah. So I don't really know if there's any others in the biopic category.
I mean, they always bubble up, of course.
Yep.
But I mean, there's plenty of other exciting stuff here. Just think about usual suspects at the Oscars. Noah Baumbach coming back once again with Adam Driver with White Noise for Netflix, following up Marriage Story. White Noise always seen as a hard to adapt project. We'll see Noah Baumbach of all people tackle it on. That's really exciting. Also, Sam Mendes is coming back with Empire of Light, starring Olivia Colman. Of course, Sam Mendes was just up for Best Director with 1917 just a few years back. That's exciting. But I think more than those two, I'm actually really excited for Yorgos Lanthimos' next movie, Poor Things, because, of course, his last movie, The Favorite, huge awards presence. Coleman was amazing. Emma Stone did win her first Oscar at that film. Nicholas Hoult was so good. Now we have Yorgos with Willem Dafoe and Emma Stone once again, Rami Youssef, Jerrod Carmichael, Mark Ruffalo, and it's Yorgos.
It's gonna be great.
Can't wait,
Yeah, I can't wait to see that either. The Oscars always loves to be preachy, always loves to have a cause, and that's why I think She Said, which is starring Carey Mulligan playing the New York Times journalist Megan Twohey, alongside Zoe Kazan, who's playing Jodie Cantor, the other journalist who did a lot of the research and digging to take down Harvey Weinstein. And if there's something that could make Hollywood feel good about itself after awarding Harvey Weinstein for many years, and people just kind of letting that all skate by would be rewarding. A movie that is
Mm.
glorifying his being taken down. So,
And you
could
should know too that She Said's directed by Maria Schrader, who
yeah.
made Unorthodox, she's German, the German Netflix series got a lot of Emmy love. And then
Mhm.
just last year she made I'm Your Man with Dan Stevens, which is a really well liked movie. So yeah, I think that's a really good call there. Just assuming it's good, like that has all the components you expect. Um, also Florian Zeller's coming back with another movie called The Sun with Hugh Jackman and Anthony Hopkins returning as well. Of course, Florian Zeller's directorial debut was The Father, which was a big surprise 2 Oscars ago. Anthony Hopkins, of course, winning Best Actor for that one. Um, Also, David Fincher has a new movie coming out. His first movie since Mank. It's called The Killer. Michael Fassbender's return to acting after taking some time off, when he had a child with Alicia Vikander. Fincher just finished that movie production wise, so I'm sure he's in editing now. Unclear if that'll actually release this time or they'll save it till next year, but keep in mind that another Fincher movie is coming.
It's so crazy because we've already listed off how many like amazing and legendary
Mm-hmm.
directors. It's
Yep.
already a stacked field. We
I
haven't
got a
even
few more
gotten
too.
yeah, I mean, Cha Cha Real Smooth with Dakota Johnson, I think, is one that could be in the mix. I guess I'm thinking. Do you think there's a chance that one of these superhero movies could sneak in something like Thor: Love and Thunder, or maybe Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2?
Right. So Spider-Verse Part 2, whatever, it's a long title, whatever it's called. That, yeah, you have to imagine that's going to be an animated feature. Of course, Into the Spider-Verse did win Best Animated Feature, a few years back. But yeah, as far as like The Flash and Doctor Strange 2, Thor 4, Black Adam, Shazam 2 in December, I'd say probably no on those. Obviously, some effects nominations will probably spew up. If anything, Black Panther 2, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is the one to watch because, of course, Black Panther 1 was Best Picture nominated, and it is being made by Ryan Coogler, of all people. So, of all the blockbusters, of which there's a lot of other ones too, Jurassic World, Dominion, Bullet Train, Argyle, The Gray Man for Netflix, Top Gun Maverick. Of all the blockbusters, though, the one I am most excited about in December is Avatar 2 from James Cameron. Aquaman 2 got the fuck out of the way. They were dated for the same weekend at one point. Avatar 2, baby.
Are you excited for this?
Discount James Cameron at your own peril. He has taken 12 years to make this movie. I'm very excited about it.
Are you excited about it?
I am.
I
I'm a
gotta
fan
say,
of the first one. The first one's fucking awesome.
how many times have you watched that since it came out?
I haven't seen it in a while, but I own the movie on Blu-ray. I do really like it.
It's a fine movie to watch. It's just like I don't know. I think for how much money it made, it's just kind of crazy. It doesn't get talked about more than
Yeah.
it
Well, I
does.
feel like people
So
say that all the time now that it's getting underrated a little bit. And I'm sure
yeah.
you'll hear from a lot of people this year when they revisit it before Avatar 2 comes out. Also, just quickly on Bullet Train, that's a David Leitch movie starring Brad Pitt. Would be assumingly a prime contender for a Best Stunt Performance award if one did exist. Very much looking forward to that movie this summer.
Um, David O. Russell has a new movie. Did we talk about that one yet?
We did
Canterbury
not.
Glass.
We did not.
Um,
Yeah, his first movie
Christian
since
Bale.
Joy. It's been a while.
Yeah, Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, Robert De Niro. I mean, the cast is absolutely stacked. I just listed like half of it, but
Right.
uh, I don't know. We'll see. I didn't really love Joy,
No.
but I think he's got the chops to make a good comeback.
Right.
I mean, you can't discount him.
You can't. He did get a lot of flack recently for being abusive on set in terms of his actions. I don't know if it was anything criminal, but just he seems like he's like a dick on set, especially to women. So we'll see if PR people want to promote his movie when the time comes. But definitely do want to see the movie given the cast and the fact that it's been a long time. So uh, definitely will have my attention. Also,
Uh,
go
just
ahead.
want to shout out in the David O. Russell movie. the cast, which includes people who have won many awards, has Sean Avery, the New York Rangers ex
Yeah.
player, on it, which is just such a random addition. What the fuck?
Sure.
It just really caught my eye. I just had to point it out. What were you gonna say though?
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of other stuff, a lot of other names still to throw out here. Armageddon Time from James Gray, his first movie since Ad Astra, a movie I loved. This movie is a period drama with Anne Hathaway, Anthony Hopkins, and Jeremy Strong. James Gray has been like film Twitter, film cinephile darling for such a long time. You have to imagine at one point he will eventually be recognized by the Academy. Maybe it's this time, who can say? Also, Ridley Scott, after releasing 2 movies in 2020 with The Last Duel in House of Gucci, is back once again with an Apple movie. Was called Kit Bag. Now it's called Napoleon. And of course, that stars Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon Bonaparte and also has Vanessa Kirby in it. Very excited. Ridley Scott just putting up shots, man, in his 80s. Fucking legend.
Yeah, I don't know how that guy works as much as he does. I hope I have that much energy when I'm 80. Um, you know, just kind of looking through here, what I have left on my list. I guess one that really stands out to me, I don't know if we've mentioned yet, is Alex Garland's new movie Men,
Yep.
which
Yep. Very
uh,
exciting.
seems a little bit like creepy. I can't really tell what it's going to be
Yeah.
like, but
First movie
Jesse
since
Buckley,
Annihilation.
yeah, Jesse Buckley is starring in this. Recent Academy Award nom, so there's probably something there to consider. I mean, what else is even in the running here for you? What else you got?
Yeah, I got a few things still. Knives Out 2 is coming out on Netflix with Ryan
Oh,
Johnson.
right, I forgot about
You
that.
know, probably unlikely that it makes the same impression due to like lack of expectations that the first one did, of course. But still, we expect it to be very good. Can't wait for that movie. Uh, Also, we should shout out The Banshees of Inisherin, which is the new Martin McDonough movie, his first since Three
Mm,
Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. Martin McDonough has been, just recently Academy favorite, so that one bears watching. Also, Darren Aronofsky is back with A24 in The Whale, his first movie since Mother. It's been several years now, and that movie is about a 600-pound man played by Brendan Fraser. So it sounds right up Aronofsky's alley. So uh, worth checking out for sure.
um, yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much else down here. I guess where the crawdads sing, that could
Mm.
fall into that like adaptation of a book of a very famous book that falls into something. I tend to lean that will go more of that like a hillbilly elegy type route, but
Uh-huh.
we'll see. I don't know what else is out there that
I
you're
have,
looking forward to.
I just have a few more.
Go for it.
Olivia Wilde, follow up to Booksmart, her
Yeah, yeah,
second
yeah.
film, Don't Worry, Darling,
Hmm.
starring Florence Pugh, Harry
Yeah.
Styles, and Chris Pine, coming out this fall. Very excited about that one.
What a
Also,
cast.
hell yeah, right? Can't wait. I'm
Beautiful people.
expecting a big Pugh performance. Very exciting. Also, Andrew Dominic's Blonde, starring Ana de Armas for Netflix. We've talked about this one a few times. It is coming out this year. It's officially received an NC-17 rating as well. So Andrew Dominic, first movie in ages. He did some Mindhunter directing, but first movie in such a long time. Ana de Armas, we know what to expect there. Very exciting. Um, and I think the last big one for me would be Decision to Leave, which is the Park Chan Wook film coming out this year, his first feature film since The Handmaiden back in 2016. Of course, since then he did make The Little Drummer Girl for AMC, which we did like quite a bit with Florence Pugh. Park Chan Wook making another film. The Academy, of course, is very international these days, more likely to recognize very good international films, so would not be shocked at all to see Decision to Leave there at the end of award season.
A lot of really good movies coming out this year, I think, is the takeaway. And
Yeah.
so keep your AMC Plus Pass handy, keep your Apple TV and all your streaming services up to date, and go support these movies in theaters if you can, if
Oh,
you
yeah.
feel safe to, I guess. So, Dave, I think that's gonna do it for this week. What else you got for next week?
Next week, Michael Bay, new movie, Ambulance, Gyllenhaal, Yahya Abdul-Mateen, Isaac Gonzalez. I'm excited for this one. Even when it's bad Michael Bay, like Six Underground, Netflix, the action's still wild shit. So I can't wait to see this movie. Sonic 2.
Did you just forget to mention this for the Oscars for next year, or
I did. That's an oversight for sure.
What else you got?
Sonic 2 is coming out. You know, who knows? Sonic 1, I guess, a surprising level of competence. And Tokyo Vice, the HBO Max series from Michael Mann, starring Ansel Elgort and Ken Watanabe. We'll see about that one, if we can get over the Ansel of it all. And then several, and The Dropout, the Elizabeth Holmes and Amanda Seyfried Hulu series is wrapping up. I've liked that one quite a bit. And then from there, ton of big records coming out. Vince Staples, Fabio Foreign, Camila Cabello, Father John Misty, and Jack White. 5 big records.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about them all next week. Hit that subscribe on youtube.com/nostalgiapod and hit that 5-star rating on Spotify and anywhere else that you can rate us. We'll see you next week.